Hi, everybody. I wanted to thank you for tuning in and taking some time out of your day to learn about the recent mission trip that we went to Haiti. I put this podcast together to share with my students about the trip and also to share with anybody else who wanted to hear. Now, naturally, in school, being in a public school, I could not share with them all of the religious side of the trip, but it still was a great experience for them to see the more secular side and what we were doing there and the importance of the work that was being done in Haiti. The trip was set up through First Baptist Church Gulf Shores. They do this every year. I think this is the fourth or fifth year that they have gone, although this was my first time going. And I want to start off by saying that I played a pitifully small role in the trip itself. We had team members who did wonderful work for the Haitian people. My job on that trip was to tell the story. I brought my camera equipment along and I journaled everything that we did, documented everything with my camera in order to hopefully better tell the story and share what took place while we were in Haiti and the importance of the work and the desperate need for the Haitian people. I'd like to start off with this photo, which I captured, on I think it was our fourth day in Haiti. You will see the little one in this picture again. He ended up being our first patient on our second day there, but I ran into them out by the cistern at the church. I want you to pay attention to how they're dressed. This is everyday clothes. Now you're going to see in a lot of our photos that the people are dressed very nicely, and they're dressed very nicely because they're coming to see the American doctor. Don't let their clothes make you think that the people of Haiti are well off. Nothing could be farther from the truth. A lot of the clothes that they have are clothes that have been donated to the country through various aid organizations and church groups, but a lot of what you're going to see here was literally the best stuff they owned that they put on to come to see the doctor. This family had been to see the doctor earlier that day and had been dressed nicely for it. Then they went home, changed into their everyday clothes, and I found them outside the church waiting on someone to open the cistern. Water was a very valuable resource in Haiti. This was up in a mountain area. There weren't streams they could collect water from, and all the water here came from rain. So the roofs of all the houses would have gutters on them. The gutters would run down into the cisterns, and they would use that water to do everything they had to do. This family, apparently their cistern had ran dry, so they went to the church and were waiting on somebody to unlock the church's cistern so they could get about a 5-gallon bucket of water and carry back home. Some demographic information comparing them to us in Alabama. Alabama has an annual population, full-time population of about 4.8 million people. The country of Haiti has a population of about 10.9 million people, so they're a little more than twice our population. But on land mass, it's totally inverted. Alabama is about 52,000 square miles of land mass, while Haiti is only about 10.7 thousand square miles. So Haiti is somewhere between 20 and 25% the size of the state of Alabama. That's the entire country of Haiti is that small. The population per square mile in Alabama is 93 people, while the population per square mile in Haiti is 1,020 people. Much different. They're very densely populated. There's people everywhere. Alabama has a current unemployment rate of 6.1%, while Haiti has an unemployment rate of 40.6%. Now, don't think that employment means you're not poor. In Alabama, our unemployment was 6.1%, but 19.2% of our people still live in poverty. And by the U.S. standard, poverty means you're making less than $16,243 for a single person. In Haiti, 59% of the population lives in poverty. But poverty in Haiti is a totally different story. To meet the poverty standard set by World Bank, that means that 59% of the population lives on less than $2 a day. They are so pitifully poor there. It's very sad. On the medical side, primary care physicians in Alabama, this is just your GPs. We're not talking about your heart surgeons. We're not talking about cardiologists, orthopedics, dermatologists, all those other doctors. We are just talking your primary care physicians. There is one doctor for every 1,325 people in the state of Alabama, one primary care doctor. Haiti doesn't really have much in the way of those fancy doctors. They are either a doctor or they're not there. And in rural Haiti, the ratio is much different. In rural Haiti, there is one doctor for every 200,000 people in the population. The majority of people in Haiti go their entire lives without ever going to the doctor. It's just unbelievable. In Alabama, 84% of the population claims to be Protestant, while in Haiti, only 16% claims to be Protestant, and that was another reason that we were there. And my slide's not moving. Hold on. There we go. So we met at First Baptist Church Gulf Shores at 3 o'clock in the morning, which I was not terribly happy about. And we headed to Pensacola Airport. We arrived in Haiti about 2, and from there we drove, or we got in this van. Now, we were fortunate. Mo had greased the wheels of diplomacy to help us to get through customs very easily with all of our medications. And then 15 people gathered in this van. Now, this is not a big 15-passenger van like you would have at your church. This is more of what we would refer to as a minivan here in the U.S. We piled in there like you wouldn't believe. And notice the front grill guard on the van. On the back side, there's one just like it. And these grill guards are very necessary because of the traffic in Haiti and the way they drive there. It is unreal. Heading out, we took a 3-hour drive from the airport in Port-au-Prince to Sister Lolo's compound. This is the market in Haiti. You don't really have Walmart per se. You'll see a grocery store later, but for most people, this is where they did their shopping at. If you needed auto parts, that's the automotive section at Walmart. You wanted produce, this is a produce section at Walmart. And these boys probably did not go to school. They spent their days helping their family feed each other. Their clothes, though, I want to point out a couple things. First off, they're clean. The parents work very hard to keep it clean. But don't be confused by the cleanliness. Look here. The clothes are still hand-me-downs. They still get very worn, and quite often you find the clothes don't fit very well. This one obviously thinks very highly of herself, by the way. Getting later in the day, it had been about 6 hours since we had lunch, and we passed a fast food restaurant. Yep, that's fast food in Haiti. Gotta say, at that point, that chicken was looking pretty dang good. The traffic was something to behold. Now, these pictures are from less congested areas, but on the top left, you see what is essentially a Haitian taxi. They would pile in, they would hold on to the back. On the top right-hand side, that's a taxi van we took going back to Port-au-Prince our last day. On the bottom left is a farm truck, and I literally saw farm trucks that had so much stuff stacked on the top that it doubled the height of the truck, and then people sat on top of that. I've seen commercials for Ford trucks and whatnot here in the U.S. where they stack a load of dirt in the truck and say, look how tough our truck is, we can carry dirt. That's a wore-out old Toyota or Datsun pickup truck, and look at how it's stacked there. I mean, they've got stuff everywhere. On the right-hand side, that's a taxi. bottom right, the motorcycle, the guy with the helmet, he's going to be the taxi driver, probably the taxi owner. If you saw a helmet at all, it was on the owner of the motorcycle, and the helmets were very rare. Now, if you look close, you've got one child, two childs, mama, and daddy. 5 people riding on one motorcycle. This is a short video to give you an idea of what it was like driving through Port-au-Prince. I hope you're getting the sound of this. I'm not sure if you will or not. If not, I will try to come back and include it in. Motorcycles were everywhere. This guy was kind of funny. There were 2 laws in Haiti for traffic. Law number 1, tonnage wins. If a dump truck came through, the minivan got out of the way. If a minivan came through, well, most of the motorcycles got out of the way. This is a village we're passing through, going back to Port-au-Prince, where they got their market on the side of the road, and you can hear the van blowing its horn. The horn was not a, hey, you screwed up and cut me off. The horn was, get out of the way, I'm coming through. And you can see they just fly down this road going from one place to the next. Needless to say, we were very happy to finally make it to Sister Lolo's house. And I referred to it as her compound where we were staying. You can see Sister Lolo in the distance there opening the front gate the first morning we were there. We did not miss a sunrise while we were there. There was a rooster that lived right outside the compound that I named Midnight because that's when he woke me up the first night. And then he woke me up again at 2 a.m. and then at 3 a.m. and somewhere between 4 and 4:30, all of Midnight's friends would come in and start singing the sun awake, even though the sun didn't rise until closer to 6 or 6:30 in the morning. Sister Lolo's place was extremely nice by Haitian standards. Just for starters, there's paint. Paint is a major luxury there. It was all but unheard of to see someplace painted as beautifully as Sister Lolo's house was painted. If you take, hold on, we're not changing here again. There you go. We felt very safe at Sister Lolo's house. She had a wall that was somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 feet going all the way around. And then if you look closely right here, there you can see broken glass that was impregnated in the concrete on top of the wall, barbed wire going across the top, and razor wire going around it. If you had something of value in Haiti, you secured it to keep the people you didn't want out. The Haitian people like to honor their ancestors. This is a tomb for Sister Lolo's mother. She said, Mama's not there anymore. Not real sure where Mama went to, but Mama's not there, but that is her tomb. Apparently that after Mama died, Sister Lolo and her husband became quite wealthy by Haitian standards because that's her husband's tombs. And you would see a lot of tombs all over the countryside that may be 1 foot by 3 feet concrete structures that were honestly looked a lot like that, but were designed to honor the ancestors that have since passed away. This was a bathroom at Sister Lolo's, and I cannot express to you how nice this bathroom was. It was a true luxury for us. We had honest-to-goodness ceramic toilet here, although we did not always have water to flush with. The general rule you picked up on very quickly was if you do number 1, you don't flush. You leave it in there for the next person to do number 1. Water was a major luxury there. Every morning and every evening, Mo would have boys he hired from the village. They would start about 4 o'clock in the morning. They'd heat up water for us because we're kind of sissy American people. And they'd heat up water in these white buckets, and they would bring it in, and they'd dump about 2 gallons, maybe, in these metal pans for us. And that was the water for our bath. You got a small plastic cup, and that plastic cup you would dump over yourself to wet your hair. You'd shampoo your hair. You'd use that cup again to rinse your hair out. Then you'd wet your body with it. You'd take your soap and wash your body, and then you'd use that plastic cup to wash the soap off your body. When you were done, you did not just take the water and dump it out the drain hole here. Instead, you would usually pick it up, take the lid off the toilet, and then you would dump the water in the toilet so you could flush, well, we'll just say your morning business down the drain before you continued on for the day and let the next person go. One really awesome part about Haiti was waking up in the middle of the night. The star field there was flat out phenomenal. I cannot express to you how beautiful the night sky was there. It really was amazing. Of course, that was because there was no real electricity. There was intermittent electricity in places like Jacmel and Port-au-Prince, but where we were staying out in Sister Lolo's, the only electricity came from her generator, and she would turn it on about sunset, and the generator would run until everybody went to bed, and then they would turn it off. And we had about 3 hours or so a night that everybody would charge up their cell phones and tablets and any piece of modern technology that we wanted to use. Despite how nice Sister Lolo's house was, you did not have to go far to find the true poverty that was in Haiti. Both of these homes were less than 200 yards from her house. You can see the one on the top left does not have windows in it, despite how hot it got there. Also, all the property was covered or surrounded by fences. Sorry about that, had to wait for the announcements to stop. All the property there was covered or surrounded by fences. The bottom right, that lady was sweet enough to stand in front of her house for me so I could take a picture of it, and you'll see that although she does have what appears to be some windows there, her house is literally covered up with blankets and whatnot to try and keep the weather out. Her front door is nothing more than shredded and tattered fabric. Despite her obvious extreme poverty, she worked hard to take care of what she had. Look at her front yard. This is a very rocky country, and despite how country it is, despite how rocky it is, she had her yard clean of rocks. Nice, smooth place for her to walk at. She has a small little flower garden here. This is her clothesline. She's even got a nice little rock garden here around the corner of her house. So they worked hard. They took care of what they had there. Our very first full day there, we heard this baby whimpering all day long just outside of the compound walls. That night, Patsy had all she could handle, and she went to check on the baby and found that he had a nasty upper respiratory infection. She thought that he may have pneumonia, but you got Dr. Ken Francis here, and yes, Ken's wife's name is Barbie. Wonderful couple, great people, and Sister Lois McNair right here. Ken said he did not think the child had true pneumonia, but he did have a nasty infection. Okay. They took care of the baby, gave it some medicine to help get its infection, and of course, all the children get a sucker or a lollipop. Just outside of Sister Lolo's house or compound is the church. I suspect it was probably made on her property. And I cannot express to you just how nice this church is on Haitian standards. This is a Taj Mahal of churches. It had 5 working light bulbs inside and 1 outside. And all the electricity for those bulbs came from Sister Lolo's generator. The only way they got electricity, if you notice, right here is a power cord running from Sister Lolo's house to give electricity to the church. The church also had paint. It is the only painted church we went into there. When you went, you can see this picture outside. Got a beautiful little girl running to the bathroom, but it's a very nice looking church, nicely painted. The windows are thatch work of concrete. The front door was covered by a steel burglar bar set. Everything of value gets locked down in Haiti. Glass windows are an absolute luxury that most people don't have. This is the inside of the church. Notice they've got really nice chairs there. Up top, you've got a metal rafter system that is designed to let the heat out. Really, this is a beautiful, nice church. 4 years ago, these people were meeting in a tent, and then a church group out of Orlando started going and working with Sister Lolo, and they started working to build this church here, to fund the building of this church program, to get them chairs, to make the church a beautiful place. Now, you probably noticed there are ceiling fans there. They were never turned on while we were there, probably because the humidity is so intense that it got into the wood blades, and all the blades sagged down, would have thrown the ceiling fans terribly out of balance. Now, you saw the little girl run into the bathroom earlier? That's the bathroom. This is just outside the church. See, we're on top of the mountain. Beautiful view from up there. And she is heading out to do her thing. Now, she probably did not actually go there, though, because the Haitian rule was you only use a true bathroom for number 2. For number 1, you just ran out behind the building, dropped your drawers, squatted down, and took care of it. And it didn't matter if you were a boy or a girl. They'd line up there and do it together. There was no issue with that. It's a totally different culture than we have. Give you some comparison, this is a church in Bazin-la-Vallée that we went to that held a clinic in. And this church, while not as nice as the one at Sister Lolo's, was still much nicer than the one we went to at Conch Chonk. After all, they have a solid concrete floor, a solid concrete ceiling. You can see in the overhead they had actually wired the church for electricity, but electricity never came. There's no paint. The pews are very rough wooden benches for part of it, and other parts right here look like antique chairs that you would find in a theater from the 1920s or something, wooden theater chairs. All the concrete structures in Haiti had rebar growing out of them. That was very significant because in Haiti, if you finished building a structure, the government taxed you more. So to avoid that tax, they would have rebar sticking out of it, and when the tax man would come, they'd say, oh no, sure, we're living in this concrete house, but we're not done with it yet. It's still a work in progress, or we're going to add another level, so you can't tax us as a completed residence. One thing we saw there that I was not anticipating was the number of cell phones. It really did surprise me how many phones they had. There was even a handful of people that had smartphones. Turns out that in Haiti, after the earthquake went through a number of years ago, it wiped out their landline system, so instead the government came back in and worked with a company called Digicon in order to build a cell phone network throughout the country. Most people were using what we in the U.S. would have referred to as candy bar phones. Very basic cell phones that only did minimal functions of telephone call and text messaging the old school way that some of y'all probably remember, having to type a number 3 times to get to the right letter. Electricity was a problem though there. You can see in the bottom right, I saw a number of different places where they had taken the cell phone battery out of their phone, hot wired it to a solar panel, and that's the way that they were charging their phones there, because generally speaking there was no other way in most of these rural communities for them to have power for their phones. The phones were said to have cost them about $10 a day for a basic, not a day, $10 a month for a basic usage fee. Livestock was pretty darn common up there. Literally, it was everywhere. Goats in particular. You'd be driving down the side of the road and people would just have a goat tied up there grazing, and that's the way they maintained the grass there too. I don't think I ever saw a lawnmower there. They just used livestock. Cows were fairly common, but most of the ones we saw were sadly undernourished. Donkeys were extremely common. Those were your pickup trucks. Those were your beasts of burdens, particularly in the more rural areas, although we even saw them closer to cities like Jacmel. There was also a lot of chickens. Chickens were everywhere, along with the roosters that came with them, like Midnight, who kept me up all night long. Dogs were not nearly as common. In a country where 60% of the population is living off of $2 a day or less, you don't have a lot of money to feed a family pet. If most of the dogs we saw were sadly undernourished. If you did have a dog, it was a sign of one of two things. Either you were a wealthier family that could afford an actual pet, or that dog had other purposes planned in its future. As one of our guides said, they were talking about cats and how rare cats were. He said, "Oh, I like cats. They taste like chicken." Oh yeah, I had to do it to you. Patsy, this one's for you. This beautiful spider, basically a small tarantula, although I don't know what it truly was on the wall outside of the house that Sister Lolo had. Luke came across it and got me, and of course I had to get pictures of it. That's my hand down there, just so to give you a size comparison to how big this beautiful fuzzy little critter was. Patsy was not nearly as impressed with the spider as I was. Called her over and she about came unglued, insisted that the poor spider had to die. I tried to convince her, no, just let me throw it over the wall of the compound. It'll be fine. Just let me throw it over the wall of the compound. No, it must die. And then Fredo killed the spider. In hindsight, it's probably a good thing that he did, because I never would have been able to convince Patsy that it was not the same spider I found in my shoe the next morning. I'd stuck my foot in the shoe and I felt something. I just couldn't get my toe to go all the way in. So I pulled my foot out and I stuck my hand down in there and I felt fuzzy spider legs. And believe it or not, I actually got excited about this. I pulled my hand back out, walked out to everybody and said, "Hey guys, watch this." I slung my shoe down, holding on to it, and out of the other end came the spider landing on the ground. Patsy was not nearly as impressed with this as I was. I began trying to catch the spider and throw it over the wall of the compound, let it live. At one point, I had it on flip-flop. It crawled up my hand, and when I shook my hand a little bit, it flew from my hand onto Fredo's shirt, and very shortly thereafter, Fredo had taken care of that spider as well. Very sad demise for our spider friends. We had been told before we went down to be prepared for the light to be just devastatingly bright. They even bring literally a couple of thousand pair of sunglasses when they come, in order to give them to the Haitian people, because the sun is so much brighter, being so much closer to the equator, and the fact that there's not as much atmosphere for the sun to be lost in as it cuts across the angle of the earth. Behind Lois here, there was a gray wall about 8 or 10 feet behind her. She's in the shade of a gazebo, and the wall behind her was so bright from the reflected light of the sun that it totally overpowered the gray in it and blasted that light back into me, making it very hard to get a photo at all. I had to use a handheld light meter in order to get something resembling a proper exposure, which the light meter did a pretty good job, but there's still a tremendous amount of glare taking part in the photo. You had to wear sunglasses when you were in Haiti. Now, we've talked about the water issue before, and you would think, well, why don't they just dig wells? Well, a well is about, I think I've read about $6,000 a piece. This was the only well that we saw there, or at least the only one I saw, and it was in Jacmel, a larger city. It was in a more suburban part of Jacmel, but it was the only well I saw. Most people got their water either from the river or from runoff on their roofs and stuff. I showed you earlier the markets that we drove through coming in. But along with those markets, we did go to one grocery store while we were there. It was inside Jacmel, and this is a picture from inside it, and it was like a little piece of heaven. The store was probably about half the size of your average Dollar General store, but they had refrigerators, They had air conditioning. They had packaged food. You could buy cold meat. You could buy ice cream. And grace be to the heavens above, they had cold Diet Coke, which was just an amazing blessing after several days there. Most of the street vendors either dealt in small amounts of money or they bartered for what they had. In the store, you had to have money, which made the stores a very significant target there. As a result, you have an armed guard inside all the stores, and he's carrying a 12-gauge pump shotgun. The gas stations had guys outside with 12-gauge pump shotguns. Anywhere there was money, they worked hard to defend it. We did not see a lot of police presence while we were there. Most of what we did see was inside the cities, like these photos, most of which were taken in Port-au-Prince. The bottom right I did take in Jacmel. And you can see that although there wasn't many police, where there were cops, they were really well armed. The top left, the guy's got himself an assault rifle. Bottom left is a pump shotgun. All the cops are armed with handguns there and heavy body armor. I can't say that I ever felt unsafe the entire time I was in Haiti. Despite the lack of enforcement and despite how heavily armed the enforcement was that we did find, I never felt really threatened there. There's a few times when I wandered away from the group in the villages and I found myself in places that I thought, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But nobody ever made any threatening actions on me short of a couple guys who tried to beg for money, and when I would wander out of the compound and they'd block my path asking for money, and I'd just tell them no and walk past them, and that was the end of it. Trash is a really big deal in Haiti. This is in Port-au-Prince, and this is one of the drainage ditches they have there. You can see it's flat, filled up with trash. Garbage was everywhere. With that garbage, the reason for this is because there was a complete lack of garbage collection. The government just did not have the money for such things like that. So all the trash would be piled in these drainage ditches when it wasn't just thrown on the ground, which there was a tremendous amount of garbage on the ground. And then you can see smoke back here in the distance. That smoke is coming from the fact that they would set these drainage ditches on fire. So some of our team members were dealing with constant headaches because of all the smoke they had to deal with the whole time. Jacmel was a one-stoplight town of 26,000 people. Only stoplight we saw there. I also only saw one stoplight in Port-au-Prince, and that was a town of 96,000 people. It is a totally different world there, and I've driven in numerous countries around the world. At one point, I thought Boston, Massachusetts was the most horrible place to ever drive. Nothing compares to Jacmel. It's just unreal there, or to Haiti in general. Port-au-Prince was much worse than Jacmel was. Back in Port-au-Prince, that would probably be middle-class housing. You notice there's no paint on them, and they just stack them up, one layer on top of the next, on top of the next. I say middle class because we also passed a number of absolute slums. I can't remember the actual term for them, but they would be these shanty towns. That's a term. These shanty towns with little shacks side by side and dirt trails running through them. So all said and done, the people who lived in these big concrete structures had it pretty good. Everybody loves doing laundry, and this is how they did laundry in Haiti. They either did it in some place like this, or they did it in the river itself. Now you notice she's smiling, which my students are having a hard time understanding. Why she's smiling if things are so bad? And the answer is she just doesn't know things are so bad. You can't miss what you've never had. And the Haitian people overall were a reasonably happy people. They didn't have the same types of daily stresses we had. They weren't in the same rat race we were in. And for the most part, they were pretty happy people. Laundry, the women worked extremely hard doing laundry there. One thing we all commented about was how white their whites were. Look at the white on this skirt here. They got their whites white. Their clothes that they had, like everything else, they took care of. And speaking of the ladies, these were the ladies that, except for the bottom right, everybody else were the ladies that were taking care of us at Sister Lolo's. We referred to them as Team Mo. They did a wonderful job cooking for us. At any given meal, they would prepare food for anywhere from about 25 people to upwards of 200 people, depending on what was going on that day. They did all of that in this kitchen. You can see the only heat source was coming from that open fire on the ground. They actually had 2 little campfires going, and that's what they cooked on. And they did a fine job. The food was absolutely delicious. The Haitian people did a really good job of taking care of each other also. On the top left, you see a father giving his son a haircut. As I'd wandered outside the compound on one of my walkabouts, probably wasn't a smart thing for me to do, but I never really felt terribly uncomfortable doing it. The other 2 pictures, the bottom you have Joe, who was our driver, and the top right you got some Team Mo ladies, and these were in the church at Bazin-le-Vallée, where we were holding a clinic at. And you can see they were taking food and coffee to the people of that area, so they would have food and something to drink while waiting on the clinic. I do want to point out, though, look at the coffee. They only got about 1 inch of coffee in each cup. It was an absolute luxury there, and you didn't get have 10-cup coffee makers that you could nurse off of all day. Despite the poverty that was going on in Haiti, the people really worked hard. Don't let their poverty make you believe that they were lazy. Take the guy on the top left. He was in a river, digging a hole in a riverbed. He had to get through all those rocks to get down to a richer soil further down, and that richer soil was used to make concrete with. Concrete was a very common building material there. The bottom left, you got an older lady with a bag of goods balanced on her head. The horse behind her was a pitiful animal, very undernourished. The center was one of Mo's village boys who was there working for us. He's cutting open coconuts. We really lived in the lap of luxury compared to the people that we were there helping. On the bottom right, a probably 10, 12-year-old girl with a family donkey loaded down with goods. Don't know where she's going. Hold on. Alright, back at it. Don't know where she's going to or coming from, but that was part of her family chores. And on the top right, that gentleman was carrying that load of wood to Team Mo so they could cook dinner for us. Same trend going here. These ladies on the left were in Conch Chant. Conch Chant was about 6 miles down a rocky riverbed, which I'll show you in a little while. It appears they're coming back from market with those baskets loaded down on their heads. So they had to walk miles and miles with their goods to buy and sell from the market. The bottom left, a gentleman is making a wall outside Bazin-le-Vallée. You didn't see them taking breaks. They worked hard there. If you took a break in Haiti, obviously you didn't want to work. And in a country with 40% unemployment, there is plenty of people to take your job from you. The top right-hand side is a cistern inside the church at Bazin-le-Vallée. When we were leaving, we got about a mile from the church, and I saw 2 little boys, one probably about 2nd grade, one probably about 5th grade, each carrying a bucket, 4 or 5 gallon bucket that they were carrying back up to the church so that they could get water out of a cistern for their family. It was one of their daily chores. And my kids get upset when we ask them to put the dishes in the dishwasher. Bottom right, once again, part of Team Mo. They did a great job taking care of us. More Haitian workers. You got top left, Team Mo. Top right, my guess is probably a teenager leading the family horse with all the goods they had left over from the day at market. The bottom left, that is a rare sight in Haiti. I'm not talking about the cooler on her head. That was actually fairly common. I'm talking about the fact that she's a little bit overweight. That's something you just did not see. Most of the Haitian people were very malnourished, and overweight was something you just didn't see. And then the bottom right, our very last day as we were leaving, we saw this gentleman in Port-au-Prince going through the garbage looking for anything he could eat, trade, or sell so that he could survive. Day 3 arrived and we headed for our first clinic. About 20 of us piled into that blue Daihatsu pickup truck. Along with us, we had all of our gear. We drove about 10.5 miles to Conchamp. About 6 miles was going through the riverbed you see at the bottom. Very slow, bouncy ride. It took us about an hour and a half to get there. We thought that things were crowded and bouncy going. On the return trip, we had more people because some of our crew had gone down the day before. We had 27 people, more equipment, a goat that my eldest son named Yum Yum, and it was, and a chicken that I named Delicious. Delicious at least got a stay of execution until we left. But all of us were piled in that truck together in a standing room only situation for the hour and a half drive back to Sister Lolo's house. We were so happy when we came around the bend in the river and saw the bridge, which meant we got to drive on an actual road again, and it wasn't such an abusive trip at that point. As we pulled into Conchamp, this is the first thing we saw. A voodoo hut is indicated by the pink paint on the tree. We saw different signs of voodoo there, and we had a couple of voodoo practitioners come to some of our clinics. I won't say that they were an issue. They tried to disrupt things a little bit, but it was really quite insignificant, their involvement with our trip. When we got inside the church at Conchamp, we had probably a couple hundred folks already waiting in line for us, and that was not too bad at that point, but things got extremely crowded very quickly to where there was literally standing room only in there, and the noise was so loud you just could not hear yourselves think. Now this is the church. This is inside it, and it was the roughest of the 3 churches we went into. You notice here the floor is just rocks, the same rocky ground that is throughout the community. The ceiling, the roof is being held up by trees, where they just cut down trees and made a crisscross the rafters with trees. There was no electricity in this church at all. It was a very rugged situation. The benches, if you could look at the front where the ladies were sitting, they took cinder blocks and they stacked them together and then put a board across them so there would be benches to sit on, and then there was a few rickety chairs too. All said and done, it was a really pretty rough situation for a house of worship, or anything else for that matter. We saw a variety of cases when we were at Conchamp. On the top left, you've got Dr. Ken Francis, along with, I believe, Jerry for interpreter, but I'm not sure. On the top right, you can see nurse practitioner Patsy Jenkins, along with Dr. Olis Saint-Lee, who was a Haitian doctor who was there every day of clinic helping us out. And then the very bottom, once again, you can see Dr. Ken Lee checking the little one's belly. Almost all the children complained of belly aches because of the intestinal worms that they were dealing with there. The 3 most common things we dealt with were intestinal worms in the children, vaginal infections in the females, which came from 2 sources: bathing in the dirty water, and apparently there was a fair incidence of chlamydia there as well. And finally, there was a significant rate of hypertension, which I honestly did not anticipate, figuring they would have a more natural diet there. But as Dr. Ken told me, that their black genome is more prone to having high blood pressure issues, so it's just part of their DNA makeup. Nurse Patsy had a very sad situation come up here where a woman came in with a couple of, let me look at her fancy term for this one. Hold on just a second. It's a gluteal abscess. She had a gluteal abscess just above her rectum, which was badly infected. She could not sit down, and of course there was a danger that the infection would run rampant through her and cause a lot more issues. Luckily, we had brought some Novocaine and surgical supplies along, and Nurse Patsy did surgery on her right there inside the clinic. Now, if you take a look, we're inside the church still. There's still people all around. Mo, our team leader, was wonderful. He was able to get a wicker mat that we could lay on the ground there, and that's the woman's husband helping to hold her. And then I think Mo is actually behind us holding up the doily that was over the pulpit in the church to give the woman a little bit of privacy. So Patsy injected her with the Novocaine, and she did not like that at all. And then she proceeded to deal with lancing, draining, and packing the abscess, only to find out that there was a second one on the other side. And we did not have enough Novocaine to deal with that. So I literally held the woman's hand back. I've got another photo that's not here showing me holding her hand. She's basically a shot of my hand and her hand, holding her, giving her something to squeeze as Patsy operated on the second abscess with absolutely no painkiller whatsoever. Some of the other medical conditions we came across in Kong Chant: we had a gentleman with dry gangrene on his foot. His toe was literally slowly falling off. The bottom left, the little girl had staph infections running up her legs. And the top right, that cute little boy with that little round belly, yeah, that's intestinal worms. His belly was totally bloated out with gases from the intestinal worms. And the boy on the right hand side, I cannot imagine the pain he went through. He had had an ear infection so bad that his eardrum literally ruptured, filling his ear canal with the infected pus and causing him to be completely deaf in that ear. Most all of these conditions could have been treated or stopped in the U.S. very easily. When people finished up with the doctors, the next stop was to go to the pharmacy, where they were given medications. We brought about $50,000 worth of medicine that we were able to buy at a discounted rate of about $5,000 by going through various organizations. Everything we did for the Haitians, we did for free. There was no cost for the doctors. There's no cost for the pharmacy. Everything we did for free. When they finished with the pharmacy, then they moved over to the eyeglass clinic. Everybody who needed reading glasses, it was fitted for reading glasses if we had some that would work for them. Everybody got a pair of sunglasses, and then they would use the eyeglass clinic as a place to witness to the people and to share with them the story of Jesus and his salvation that he offered. Look at these beautiful old faces. We actually saw two people that were 102 years old and one that was 103. As Dr. Ken stated, if you lived old enough, long enough in Haiti to be what we would refer to as elderly, you'd already outlived everything that would kill you. As I told my students, there was a lot of little children in Haiti. There wasn't quite as many middle schoolers, and there was even fewer high schoolers. Living to be old was an accomplishment, but once you got to that point, there wasn't much left that was going to hurt you. Now you notice that all these people are giving me very serious expressions. The Haitian people very much wanted their photos to be taken, but because then I would show them the screen and they could see themselves, and they didn't know what they looked like because mirrors were a luxury there. When I would show them the camera, when I'd point the camera at them, the otherwise relatively happy people would become very stoic and serious. Well, almost all of them. There was this one little old lady, and she's waving at me. I believe we were at Bazin-la-Vallée, and she was waving to get my attention and then pointed at my camera. And when I raised my camera up to take a picture of her, she gave me this. Isn't she adorable? And then she proceeded to do different poses with her hand up on her hat in different ways. She was an absolute doll, an absolute hoot to work with. Lots of fun. Along with beautiful old people, oh my goodness, look at these children. They were gorgeous. This little one on top with her sucker, a doll. This one over here, my son Conrad had taught him how to throw bottle tops as if they were frisbees. The little guy in the center, he was just outside our compound the first day we were there, peeking around the door at all those strange white people that was inside. I went and grabbed my camera, and as I was staging to get the photo, somebody inside waved at him, and he got so excited, jumped into the center of the door and started waving back. This girl right here, she was outside our compound the same day we took this photo. Beautiful child. This young lady was in Conchant, and this one here was inside the clinic, I think at Conchant, although she may have been at the Bazin-la-Vallée. And I'm not sure where I captured these two at right here. Children are children, no matter where you go. And here you can see we brought a beach ball for the kids, and they played and had a good time. On the top right hand side, this was right outside Sister Lolo's compound, and the boys were playing soccer with a mostly flat SpongeBob ball that somebody had brought them once. Notice the ground, how rocky it is. Notice their shoes. Oh, wait a minute, they don't have shoes. Everybody's playing barefoot, even on this rocky soil here, and it's not fazing them at all. I look at that, and it's like walking through a field of Legos. It would just be absolutely devastating to me, and they're running around like there's nothing to it. And then the very bottom, girls are girls. It does not matter where you go. They're always going to be girls. Now, anywhere you have children, you need to have schools. But in Haiti, to be able to go to school, somebody had to pay for it. Now, sometimes it was the parents paying for the school. Sometimes it was outside individuals or organizations paying to ensure that the child could get an education. Take, for example, this school that was in Conchant. That's their elementary school. It looks pretty pitiful, doesn't it? Get inside, things don't get any better. Now, first glance, it looks like they got some nice wicker chair there, but wait a minute, you see this board right here? That board's going to be there because they did not have enough chairs for all the students, so they would put a board across two chairs so that they could stack more kids in there. From there, the kids went to the high school, or the secondary school, I guess we would call it. I would suspect that would have been for what we would refer to as something like 3rd grade through probably 7th or 8th grade. And that's where they went to school at. That was their school building. You go inside, and this is one of their classrooms. My guide, this gentleman here who said he was a teacher at the school, stated that in this section alone, this small piece of the school, what we would call a classroom for lack of better terms, separated from the next room only by a blackboard, they had 71 students. He said the next room, they had 51 students. Their desks were basically half a picnic table. They had a bench, they had a desktop. And you can see some of the learning, for lack of paper, they just wrote on top of their desk with chalk. Despite the rough conditions there, they still had to learn algebra. As a math teacher, I absolutely loved this. Here you have two-step equations with multiple variables, or variables on both sides of the equal sign. We're in a village 6 miles up a dry riverbed. No roads to this town, and the kids still had to learn algebra. I think it's wonderful. I just love it. Next time my kids ask me, why do I have to know this stuff? Hey, kids 6 miles up a riverbed in Haiti have to know it. You have to know it. Take a look at the condition of the blackboard. It's very bad shape. The whole school is in very bad shape. So I'm going to be doing a little fundraiser with my middle school students to see if they will bring in donations that we can put towards buying new blackboards to go in this school. Anything above and beyond replacing their blackboards, we're going to put towards buying other school supplies for them. I saw a couple other schools while we were there. Some were actually very nice in the cities, and the one at Sister Lolo's was held in the church outside our house, and that was pretty nice too. They had nice blackboards and better conditions for the kids to work out of. But the ones in Conchant, that was just a very sad situation. The school did, however, have a restroom. You can see they had two sides, a boys' side and a girls' side. That's very nice, and each side had their own stall. But you had to aim well, and there wasn't much privacy in the stalls. You just got in there and you did your thing, and that's the way they do things over there. We made it back, got up the next morning, and we held clinic at Sister Lolo's house. For the clinic that day, you can see we had about 100 people waiting before the clinic ever opened. We've got Conrad, my son, learning to take blood pressure. Conrad's in his second year of Spanish at Gulf Shores High School, and Dr. St. Lee was able to speak French, Creole, the Haitian Creole, and Spanish. Didn't help us a lot. Well, he would talk to Conrad in Spanish. Spanish would turn around and talk to Dr. Lee in English, or Dr. Ken, in English, and then Dr. Ken would talk back to St. Lee in French, or some variation of it, to be able to get the point across of what he needed to know. This was the whole medical side of the clinic when we were at Sister Lolo's house. All said and done, it was a very easy day at Sister Lolo's that day. We had just routine cases. We did see an awful lot of patients, but there wasn't anything significant that jumped out as a severe medical condition like we had seen on the other days we were in Haiti. The pharmacy crew, of course, did all of their pharmacy work. The eyeglass clinic did a great job of the eyeglass clinic, and there was also a great deal of witnessing that took place through the eyeglass clinic. The next day was different. The next day we drove to the village of Bazin-le-Vallée. The church was, you saw a picture of it earlier, all concrete structure, no electricity. That's what we worked out of. And when we arrived, we thought, well, gee, we're wasting our time here, because there was only about a half a dozen people waiting for us. Word traveled quickly, and it didn't take long before we were covered up and we had patients working all day long. We saw some very significant medical conditions there. For example, this lady has a strange growth coming out the side of her neck. Dr. Ken said that he just didn't have the resources to diagnose it. He suspected it was probably a slow-growing tumor, and that meant that there was absolutely nothing we could do to help her out. This gentleman, isn't he the saddest thing you've ever seen? Well, he rode in on the donkey. His family brought him in on the donkey up top here, took him inside, and he was crippled below the waist. You can see how skinny his legs are from lack of use. Once again, not a lot we could do for this one. It was a more severe case than we were prepared to deal with. These gentlemen that you see here are taking him away. He rode in on the donkey, but he rode out with the motorcycle brigade. These guys were wonderful. They spent all day long bringing elderly people in and out that would not have been able to come to the clinic otherwise. They'd sandwich them between them and hold them on the bikes and go get another one, drop one off, pick one up, drop one off, pick one up, all day long. This gentleman was one of many of the sad cases we had when we were in Bazin-le-Vallée. He's 102 years old and had a massive inguinal hernia. I got some great photos of it if any of y'all are doctor types and want to see it. It was really quite impressive, for lack of better terms, to see something that makes most men groan when they take a look at it. Because of his age, when we asked the Haitian doctor about getting him to Port-au-Prince so he could have surgery to get taken care of, we were informed that no, that's not going to happen. They said that he is too old, and in Haiti he's pretty much a write-off to the government, even if we were to finance it so that he would be able to afford to go to the doctors wouldn't work on him there. Brother Bobby was called over and witnessed to him, and at 102 years old, this gentleman accepted Jesus Christ as his Savior. He was given a lollipop and a set of sunglasses, and he was sent on his way home. This gentleman also came in on the motorcycle brigade. He was suffering from pleurisy, which is an inflammation of the lining of the lungs caused by an infection. This lining is important to allow your lungs to move freely inside your lung cavity. When you have pleurisy, it is essentially feels like you've got broken ribs. Every breath is painful. I can only imagine how brutal the trip in on the motorcycle must have been for him. You can see the pain that he had to have gone through shown by that one lonely tear that's weeping down his eye, from his eye. Very sad. I believe we were able to give him some antibiotics to help deal with that, and hopefully they were strong enough to clear up the pleurisy so that he would feel better. The next case of interest we saw that day, or significance, was this case of shingles, which is, of course, most of you know, a reactivation of the chickenpox virus, and it grabs hold of a strand of nerves and inflames a whole strand of nerves. So that dark splotching and scar tissue you see on him would have started all the way back at his spine and wrapped all the way around him. Even in the U.S., there's limited things they can do about this. If they catch it early enough, they can give you some antiviral medicine, which makes it better quicker. But if you don't get it quickly enough there, or flat any time in Haiti, because of course they don't have those resources in Haiti, you're going to be dealing with some very significant pain for a long, long time. As I recall, they said that generally speaking, you're looking at about 6 weeks. I had shingles myself many years ago, and as I recall, he said it would last anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months without treatment. Very unpleasant experience. And finally, our last of the sad cases we encountered when we were at Bazine-la-Vallée. This gentleman's brown eyes were a very pretty shade of blue, because of the very severe cataracts he had in both of them, making him totally blind. In the U.S., trip to the eye doctor for some LASIK surgery, outpatient surgery, and he'd go home being able to see. In Haiti, it is a sentence of blindness for the rest of his life. Despite the sad things we saw in Bazine-la-Vallée, I also got my most beautiful photos there, the ones I loved the most. For example, this one. I went back to take pictures of the eye clinic and noticed somebody peeking through the hole in the steel front door. I brought my camera up and the eye disappeared. So I just held it there thinking it was going to come back, and after about 20 seconds the eye came back in, and then it disappeared real quick when it saw me. And this went on for a couple minutes until he finally decided that he was more interested in seeing what was in the room than he was hiding from me and my camera. Captured that photo, truly loved that shot and the story that it tells. I also captured some of the most beautiful images of children in Bazine-la-Vallée. Most of the Haitian people, children included, wanted their pictures taken, but when you pointed the camera at them, they'd stand up or sit up straight and give you a very serious expression. Not this little angel. She went, tapped me on the chest and pointed at my camera, and when I went to shoot her, this is what she gave me. Is that not the most beautiful pose and a smile and expression you have seen on any child got a picture of. Gorgeous little girl in her school uniform. All the kids that went to school had to wear uniforms that matched that school's design. And you can see it's a pretty heavy uniform for them to have to wear every day in a climate as hot as it is in Haiti. Beautiful child. I truly think that she could get a modeling gig anywhere in the U.S. She's just a gorgeous little girl, and she knows how to move and position her body naturally for beautiful photos. From there, I was getting pretty wore out. Towards the end of the day, I was getting pretty wore out. As far as I was concerned, I was done. I already had easily 200 pictures, if not more, from Bazine Le Ballet, and I was overwhelmed. I was sitting in the very back of the room on a cooler, and I looked over to my left, and this little one was peeking around the wall at me. I brought my camera out, and she came out from there and stood straight up, nice and proper, like all the Haitian people did. And I had to sign language to her. I said, no, no, no. And then I went over and I peeked around the wall, and I pointed for her to do that. And she peeked back around the wall again, and isn't that the most beautiful picture as well? The final one that I really loved from that day was a heartbreaker for me. Look at the sadness in this little girl's eyes. If I could, I would go back today, package that little one up, and bring her home. She's probably about middle school age. My guess is she's somewhere between 11 and 13 years of age. Look at those eyes, though. Don't they just cut into your soul? Beautiful little girl that was outside the clinic looking in, and of course she is in her school uniform there. The next day, day 6, was the wedding. In Haiti, weddings are not common experiences. In Haiti, when two people decide they like each other, they just move in together and start making babies, and that's just the way of the world there. Well, when Christian missionaries started going down and converting the people to Christianity, they said you can't just keep living together anymore. You have to go through a Christian wedding. And they would would take and arrange to have dresses bought and suits bought and sent to Haiti so that these people could have a fancy wedding just like we would have in the U.S., and it was a very big deal. They would have boys take, and let's see if I can get it to change. There it goes. Boys would lay down fancy paper for the bride to walk down, and she slowly sashayed her down to the front of the church, really poking out her hip with each step. Very slowly. It took forever to get there. Now the front top right should have been a clue to me. You notice the bride and groom, the best man and the maid of honor are all sitting in chairs. Should have taken that as a hint. I'm a person, I really prefer a Baptist wedding. A Baptist wedding, 15 minutes, wham bam, thank you ma'am, you're married, congratulations, go spend a few minutes at the reception, and then you're off on the honeymoon. Nice, short, and sweet. Catholic weddings I always thought were a little long for my taste. They have mass, there's a lot of ceremony involved. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but for my short attention span, it was a little bit intense. And the Haiti is gives a whole new definition to a long wedding. As I recall, the wedding lasted somewhere between 2 and 2.5 hours long. Just took forever. During it, the preacher used it as a fine opportunity to chastise his flock, and he from the pulpit was yelling at the flock about driving the car without a license. He kept going off on them. You all are driving the car without a license. You don't have a license. This couple is getting a license so they can drive the car legally. You follow where I'm going here? And he continued on and on about not driving a car without a license. Finally, the groom presented the ring to the bride, at which point the preacher told him, from this point on, all other women are ugly. You cannot look at any other women. All women are ugly except for your wife. We all got a big kick out of that one, but not nearly as big of a kick as we did out of what came next. The bride and the groom signed the book, making it all official. The groom and the finally got to kiss her, and for the first time she actually looks happy. They were very stoic and proper all the way through the ceremony until this moment. But you know, it's not that they weren't happy, it's just part of the Haitian way. After they kissed, the preacher pronounced them man and wife, and then he told them, "You all now have a license. Go home and drive the car." Kid you not, only he was not quite so eloquent in the way he chose to say that to him. The rest of the afternoon was pretty much a day of rest for us. I actually got a nap, which was very nice that day because we were pretty drained. And then we rode into Jacmel, did a little bit of shopping. Mo took us down to the seashore. Actually, Joe drove us down to the seashore, and you can see Joe in the very center of the top left picture in the yellow shirt. And he drove us down there. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that's Felipe in the top center. I don't see Joe in this picture. Mo is right down here. Nope, Joe did not get in our picture that time. My bad. So we went down to the seashore, got a group picture. They had 3 of these little vendors along the edge of the seashore there that we did a little bit of shopping with, and went from there to eat dinner and at a nice hotel, and then back to the compound. The dinner was good, but all said and done, I was just as happy eating the food that the ladies at the compound were cooking us. They did a fine job. The food that they made was excellent. Most of it way above the bar in anything I would normally eat. Not dogging my wife's cooking or anything, but it was really good food. We started out each morning, or most of the mornings that we were there, with a group devotional where we would gather around. This also gives you an idea of what the sleeping arrangements were like. This was my bed right here. I had a hammock strung. This was Conrad's hammock, and this was, I think that was Austin's hammock. Most of the men slept in hammocks up on the porch, although Pastor Dave slept in an air mattress up there, and the women got to be inside on actual beds. I think that the guys got the better end of the deal because the sun in Haiti baked down on that concrete house all day long, and then all night long the women would be inside that house on those mattresses trying to sleep, and it was very hot in there. Where we were at, it actually got a little chilly come about 4 o'clock in the morning, so it was a pleasant difference from what we had there. We had one more day of clinic left. It was only going to be half a day long. We were wrapping up at noon, and we were back at Sister Lolo's. We got up that morning thinking that it was going to be an easy day. Last time we were at Sister Lolo's, we didn't have any significant cases. It was all just routine stuff. And we figured we were going to be in for more of the same. You can see that we started that day off with even more people waiting than we did the first day. Huge crowd showed up, and we were busy right up until the time that we cut it off and stopped serving at about 12 o'clock. The process that was generally used was people would wait in those chairs till they got called to register at the triage group. The ladies in triage would fill out their name and information and what their ailments were, and then they would send them on to the doctors for further treatment. Doctors would send them to the pharmacy. The pharmacy would send them to the eyeglass clinic. Well, on this particular morning, right when we got started, I was told that I needed to get over to the triage area real quick to get a photo. That was never a good sign, because when you were sent straight to triage, that meant that there was a more severe case there that they were pushing through ahead of everybody else. That day it was a baby. This one still gives me a lot of trouble when I talk about her. She's 13 months old. Look at Mama. Mama walked, best understanding, over 2 hours barefoot, carrying her baby so her baby could get help from the American doctors. Probably the only doctor that baby had ever seen. Look at the peace and the pride on Mama's face. She did her part. She was going to get her sick baby taken care of. The next picture tells the rest of the story, though. The baby was born with a congenital heart defect. Her little heart was beating over 200 beats per minute. My resting heart rate usually comes in around 56 beats per minute. Dr. Ken Francis had to tell Mama, or had to have Mo tell Mama, that her baby was going to die and there was nothing we could do about it. Despite how hard her little heart was beating, her fingernails were still blue from a lack of oxygen. Ken said if we could have gotten her to an American hospital, he could have arranged for her to be treated no cost. He could have arranged for her to fly to America and Mama for treatment, no cost. But the Haitian government will not allow their people to leave. If you leave, you see what the other side has. When you see what the other side has, you come back and you start questioning why your government is not helping you to have the same. And that's where revolutions start. So the Haitian government holds their people there, just like this little baby, 13 months old, and destined to die. Brother Bobby came and prayed over the child. I had to wipe tears from my eyes as I took that photograph. She was given a lollipop and a stuffed animal, and that was the extent of what we could really do for her. After I took this photo, I went and hid behind Sister Lolo's husband's tomb, and I sat down and I cried like a baby. I shed more tears the week I was in Haiti than I have in the previous 20 years. Lois spent some time cuddling with the sweet little girl, giving Mama a break, while we took care of Mama's needs. Let Mama see the doctor, let Mama get some food and some fluids in her. And then Lois carried the baby part way back home for Mom until we realized just how far Mom traveled, and we had to give the baby back and send Mom on her way. Dr. Ken said he doubted the child would live to see 2 years old. I know that his intentions were to talk to some people when he got back to the U.S. and see if he could make any connections to get this little one the help that she so desperately needs. I've not heard if he was successful at all at this. We were pretty whipped at this point, but we were just getting warmed up. Our ladies in the triage did a wonderful job greeting people, collecting information from people who spoke a different language, sometimes with the help of interpreters, and sometimes, like right here, Miss Barbie is trying to get the information without an interpreter at all. The compassion that they showed the people was just absolutely phenomenal. From there, they went to see the doctors. From the doctors, they went to the pharmacy. And from the pharmacy, they went to the eye clinic, where they were given reading glasses if needed, sunglasses, and everybody got a chance to be witnessed to. When all was said and done, we were, in fact, even going into that day, we were very tired. Nurse Patsy laid her head down on the table for just a couple minutes. She probably had her head down for less than 30 seconds, and she fell asleep. I really felt bad when I had to tap her on the shoulder to wake her up because another patient was coming through. We saw a couple other severe cases that day too. We saw this gentleman who had leprosy. The bones inside his hands had disintegrated, but don't worry, he didn't feel any pain from it. His nerves had disintegrated long before the bones did, and his fingers drew into nubs. We were able to give him a 6-month supply of medicine to help him combat the leprosy he was dealing with. We also had a guy who had a very nasty infection of the fingernails. It was called, get my medical terminology here, onychomyosis. I believe, no, mycosis, I'm sorry. Onychomyosis. mycosis, a fungal infection of the fingernails. This would have been totally treatable in the U.S. We had some little bit of antibacterial cream, antifungal cream left that we were able to give him to put on it. Whether or not it would do any good, we weren't really sure, because that's a pretty nasty infection, and the cream we had was not designed for such a thing. Now, despite the sad cases, despite the people who we could not help, we did help an awful lot of people when we were in Haiti. We made an awful lot of friends when we were in Haiti, and there was an awful lot of people that made professions of faith while we were in Haiti, which was the ultimate point of the mission trip. We were there to treat their bodies. We were there to help them to be healthy, but we were also there to help their souls as well. Sister Lois, or Lois McNair, had a tendency of hogging the babies from us, though. She would grab up the little ones, and you'd see her walking around the various clinics, cuddling the little babies and holding them close. Brother Bobby did manage to slip one by her, though. Children there were absolutely beautiful, but were not going to have the same chance that our kids have here in the U.S. When the clinic was all said and done, we treated our last patient. We gathered up what medicines and stuff we had left, and we took it to the Angel Wings International Medical Clinic that had just recently opened in Jacmel. At this clinic, they asked for their patients to bring a donation, something to help support them, but they don't charge like a standard Haitian doctor would. The clinic is staffed by American doctors that come in and provide support or provide medical care for the people of Haiti. Wonderful program, and we're looking forward to being able, the church group is looking forward to being able to work more closely with them over the coming years. Needless to say, by the end of that day, particularly dealing with the baby, we were all pretty depressed. On the way back from Jacmel, as we were pulling into Sister Lolo's house, we were met with a promise. I took this as a promise from God that He was not done with Haiti yet. We'd had a rough week in a lot of ways. We had seen a lot of things that we just couldn't help to improve. They were just beyond the scope of the capabilities of the medical mission team that was there. And I think God was saying for us to take heart that He is not finished with Haiti, that He still has plans there, and He is hoping that others, like the members of the Haiti mission team from First Baptist Church, will step up and be the hands and feet of God to go out and to minister to the people of Haiti, both their physical and their spiritual needs. They truly are a magnificent people in Haiti. They are happy people considering what they're having, the lot they're having had put upon them, and in many ways I found them to be happier than the people in America are, because they're not running the same rat race we are. It's a simpler life, and they do a great job of making the most they have of what they've got. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the people that live in the country of Haiti. And that's part of why I ask my students to forego a candy bar this week, or a soda, or a trip to Starbucks, and instead donate that money to help support the children in the school in Conchon in Haiti. Our kids here are so blessed. They have so much more opportunities than the kids there ever thought about having, and I think it'd be a great opportunity for our students to give just a little bit back and to offer part of what they have to support others who are not nearly as fortunate as they are. All said and done, the mission group treated 1,129 patients. Also, there was at least 57 professions of faith. That's the ones we were able to keep track of. The team members are listed below. Sorry, I don't have the full names on all of them, particularly some of our interpreters and some of the ladies working for us. I only had their first name, and then the Team Mo ladies I just knew as Team Mo. I never got their names. And like I said in the start of this presentation, it was the team that did the work. I just told their story. So this is a presentation put together to recognize them, but more importantly to draw attention to the desperate need in Haiti and what potential there is for good work to be done there. I hope you have found this very informative, and I wish you the best. Thank you for taking the time to watch.